It was the kind of night that only veterans feared. Quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that didn't soothe. It stalked. Travis Cole drove the winding highway just outside Billings, Montana, headlights slicing through a fog that didn't belong in June. He wasn't rushing. There was nowhere to rush to. Just another support meeting behind him. Another night of trying to explain to strangers why the world still felt loud, even when it was still. He was halfway home when the shape flickered past his headlights. Small, low, limping. He slammed the brakes. Dust rose behind him. The truck fishtailed, but he kept it steady, throwing it into park before stepping into the darkness. A chill kissed his neck. At first, he saw nothing. Just weeds, gravel, empty barbed wire fencing stretching off into the trees. Then the sound, barely audible. A whimper. He followed it with his flashlight. And there it was. A puppy, curled into a ditch like it had tried to vanish. Mud matted its fur, ribs visible beneath skin. One leg twisted unnaturally. But its eyes... God. Those eyes weren't just scared. They were resigned, like it had already accepted no one was coming. Travis dropped to one knee. "It's okay, buddy," he murmured. "I've been there too." The pup didn't growl, didn't flinch, just looked at him. Travis reached out slowly, and as he lifted the small, fragile body, he felt something stiff against his palm, like a callus under fur. He shifted the pup gently, pulled the ear back. And there it was, a tattoo. Tiny numbers, too precise to be random. D7 212. His stomach dropped, because he'd seen tattoos like that before. Not in shelters, not in homes, but in training camps. Government-funded facilities. Places that used dogs not as companions, but as tools. He looked down at the creature cradled in his arms. "Who the hell are you?" he whispered. But the pup didn't answer. It just closed its eyes and exhaled, like it was safe for the first time in a very, very long time. The vet's office was quiet when Travis arrived, a little after 1 a.m., the kind of place that stayed open only because someone like Dr. Shaw refused to hang up her coat, even after losing half her staff to burnout and budget cuts. She didn't ask questions when he burst through the door carrying a filthy, barely breathing German Shepherd pup wrapped in a shredded flannel shirt. She just gestured him toward the exam room and snapped on gloves. "Found him in a ditch," Travis said, trying to keep his voice level. "Looked like he'd been hit or dumped." Dr. Shaw raised an eyebrow. "Or both." She worked quickly, efficiently. Hydration line, mild sedative, warmth lamp. The pup whimpered once but otherwise stayed still. Travis hovered by the table, watching every move like he was back in the field, waiting for a medic to stabilize a teammate. "You said he had a tattoo?" she asked after a moment. Travis nodded. "Left ear, D7 212. She leaned in, gently brushing the fur aside. When she saw it, she stilled. "That's not a shelter code," she said quietly. "I know." They locked eyes for a moment. No need for further explanation. They'd both seen their share of things that weren't supposed to exist. This tattoo was one of them. "I've seen markings like that on military dogs," she said finally. "But this is off. The formatting's wrong. No branch ID, just the project code and unit number." "Classified programs sometimes drop the branch," Travis said. "Means it wasn't sanctioned, or someone wanted to pretend it wasn't." Dr. Shaw didn't answer. Instead, she opened a drawer and pulled out a laminated sheet, printed with diagrams of known canine tattooing systems. She slid it beside the pup's ear. The match was close, but not exact. "Private sector?" she offered. "Or black budget?" Travis exhaled, staring down at the pup. The fur around its paws was rubbed raw, like it had been tethered. There were marks on its flanks, faded bruises, tiny scars. Not from fighting, from training. Hard training. Dr. Shaw ran a set of neurological tests, reflexes, eye tracking. Then she paused and raised a hand above the pup's head, making a sharp, downward slashing motion. The pup flinched and dropped into a tight, low crouch. Travis blinked. "Did he just—" "Yep," she said. That's a defensive command, military grade. She tried again, this time clapping once. The pup immediately looked toward the nearest door, then back at her, then lowered its body further. Not just trained, Dr. Shaw murmured. Conditioned. Travis felt something shift deep in his chest. Not fear, not yet, but the thing before fear. The sense that something was wrong. Deeply, deeply wrong. He reached down slowly and ran his hand along the pup's spine. The dog didn't shy away, didn't twitch, but it didn't lean in either, like it was waiting for permission to exist. Dr. Shaw looked up. What are you going to do with him? Travis swallowed. Keep him alive? And after that? He didn't answer, because he didn't know. Not yet. But he knew one thing. Whoever this pup used to belong to, they weren't done with him. Not by a long shot. He named him Ghost. Not because the pup was silent, he wasn't. Not because he moved without a sound, he didn't. But because that's what he was. A shadow of something that shouldn't exist. A flicker of a life someone tried to erase. The morning after the vet visit, Travis sat on the porch of his cabin in the hills, coffee cooling in his hands. Ghost was curled in a heap near his boots, the bandages on his paw peeking from under soft, matted fur. He didn't sleep like a normal dog. He stayed alert, even in rest. One eye cracked open, head lifting at every gust of wind. That first day, Travis didn't try to train him, didn't even speak much. He just let Ghost explore, within limits. Let him sniff the porch, the stairs, the edge of the gravel drive. Every movement Ghost made was cautious, measured, like he expected an electric jolt for stepping in the wrong place. Travis recognized it immediately. Not obedience, fear of punishment. But the real clue came later, when Travis stepped into the shed and dropped a wrench on the concrete floor. The sound echoed, loud, metallic, sudden. Ghost dropped instantly into a crouch behind the trash bin. Not a flinch, not a spook, a tactical reaction. Travis froze. Ghost, he said softly. It's okay. The pup's ears twitched. His body didn't move. Travis crouched down, waited. Ghost peeked out. And then, slowly, walked to him, head low, tail stiff. Travis rubbed behind his ear, the unscarred one. The pup leaned in slightly this time. Yeah, Travis muttered. You've seen things. That night, he ran a test. Something simple. He walked to the edge of the clearing behind the cabin where the trees started thick and dark. Then he gave a low whistle, just once, and held up 2 fingers. Ghost, watching from the porch, moved. He didn't run, didn't bark. He slunk, low to the ground. Quick, not a sprint, a silent approach. He reached Travis and stopped, eyes forward, body alert. Travis looked down at him. That's recon behavior, he whispered. Someone trained you for field movement. He thought about the tattoo again, D7212. It wasn't just a number, it was a designation. Delta 7. But why had they dumped him? Ghost had survived. He was smart, fast, responsive, loyal, even in his fear. And that's when it hit Travis. Maybe it wasn't that Ghost had failed. Maybe Ghost had refused an order, refused a handler, refused to do something no dog should ever be asked to do. The next day, Travis dug into his old contacts. Quiet messages, encrypted forums, a couple burner emails sent from a laptop he hadn't opened in 2 years. By the third reply, a name came back. Project Delta, an off-the-books initiative tied to canine behavioral manipulation. The reply had only one sentence beneath it. Shut down after multiple failures. Survivors were meant to be destroyed. Travis looked across the room at Ghost, now dozing with one paw curled over the edge of his bed. His jaw clenched. Ghost wasn't a survivor. He was a target. And Travis had just put himself between the dog and the people who wanted him erased. It started with a message. No name, no signature, just a set of coordinates and a sentence. If you're asking questions about Delta, you'd better be ready for what you find. Travis stared at the screen for a long time before closing the laptop. He knew the place. An old, decommissioned training compound 60 miles north, supposedly abandoned like so many things the military claimed didn't work out. But guys in his unit had whispered about it during his last tour. About dogs that didn't behave like dogs. About training that went too far. He glanced down. Ghost was chewing on an old tennis ball now, tail twitching just slightly, body loose and almost puppy-like, for the first time since Travis brought him home. "You don't have to come," Travis said under his breath. Ghost dropped the ball, looked up, ears pricked. Travis sighed. "Of course you're coming." By nightfall, they were on the road. The facility was surrounded by chain link and silence. No posted guards, no electricity, just the bones of a forgotten operation. Travis cut through the fence near a collapsed storage shed, Ghost at his heel. No leash. No need. The dog moved like a partner, tight to Travis's side, every sense alive. They moved through the barracks first, dust-covered cots, shelves still lined with broken radios. A cracked chalkboard bore faded outlines of training routes and performance stats, but it wasn't until they reached the kennel building that Travis felt it. The weight in the air, the echo of fear. He pushed open the rusted door and stepped inside. The smell hit him first, old urine, bleach, metal. Ghost stiffened, his ears snapping to attention. Travis swept the flashlight across the room. Empty cages lined both walls, each one bolted, reinforced. Built like prison cells. At the far end of the building, a door marked control. Travis pushed through it. Inside, a desk, a metal filing cabinet, a computer monitor long since fried, and a corkboard covered in pinned photos and papers yellowed with time. He moved closer. Photos of dogs. German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, training progress logs. Red marks slashed through some names. At the center of the board, a photo of a pup, barely a few weeks old. Eyes bright, ears not yet fully upright. Below the photo, D7-212. Ghost. Travis stared at it, then looked down at the dog beside him. Ghost was watching it too. Then his head turned sharply toward the window. A sound outside. Travis dropped low, moved to the edge of the doorframe. Another sound, closer now. Then a voice. Two men, whispering. Not guards. No uniforms, but armed. Private. Cleaners. Travis cursed under his breath. They weren't here to guard the facility. They were here to erase it. And if they were here now, that meant one thing. Someone had known Travis was coming. And someone still considered Ghost a loose end. He pulled back, motioned for Ghost to stay low. The dog didn't move, didn't shake, didn't blink. Travis whispered, "You remember this place, don't you?" Ghost's only answer was a slow, quiet growl, low and steady. Travis looked out the window. The men were sweeping toward the kennels, weapons raised. "I don't know what they turned you into," he whispered, "but I know what you are now." He reached for his sidearm. "You're mine." They didn't shoot. Not at first. That told Travis everything. The men moving through the compound weren't soldiers. They were erasers. Their job wasn't to fight. It was to make things disappear. Travis waited until they passed the kennel building, their flashlights sweeping low across the dirt. Ghost lay flat beside him, breathing so quietly Travis could barely hear it. He could feel the dog's pulse just beneath his hand. Tense. Ready. When the moment came, they moved like one shadow. Out the side door. Into the tree line. Gone. They drove through the night in silence. Travis took back roads, turned off his phone, dumped his laptop in a creek. By the time the sun began to rise behind the distant hills, they were 30 miles out, bumping along a forgotten gravel road that led to a place no one should have remembered. But Travis did. An old family farm, once owned by a friend from his first deployment, Eli Rourke. After Eli didn't come back from Afghanistan, the place fell into disrepair. His folks moved away. But Travis knew the keys were still in the old flower pot by the barn door. He pushed the truck around back, hidden from the road. Ghost jumped down from the passenger seat with ease now, his limp almost completely gone. He sniffed the air, ears perked. Not bad for a war zone, Travis muttered, unlocking the back door. The house smelled of dust and pine and long-forgotten stories. But it was safe. That afternoon, Travis did what he hadn't done in years. He started to train. Not the old way, not with fear or force, but with patience, with choice. Ghost responded to every cue, every test, every motion, not just because he had been trained to, because he wanted to. And Travis began to realize something. This dog hadn't been discarded for failure. He had been discarded for resistance, for refusing something, maybe an order, maybe a person, and now he was a liability. Travis walked out to the barn to find supplies, feed bowls, old fencing, maybe a clean blanket. What he found instead made his blood go cold. The barn had been cleared out long ago, but someone had come back. In the corner was a steel cage, small, rusted, with teeth marks along the bars. Beside it, a weather-warped clipboard. He picked it up. Subject ID D7212. Breeder. Unconfirmed status. Discontinued. Observe 30 days for compliance. Travis stared at the cage. This wasn't just a farm. It had been a drop point. A place where someone had hidden Ghost after the program shut down. Maybe to give him a chance. Maybe to let time kill him quietly. But Ghost hadn't died. He'd escaped. And somehow, fate, or something like it, had landed him in Travis's path. He turned to find Ghost standing in the barn doorway, tail stiff, eyes locked on the cage. His entire body had gone still. Then he let out a low, trembling whine. Travis dropped to his knees and placed a hand on the pup's back. "You remember," he whispered. Ghost lowered his head, not in submission, in mourning. And Travis knew. This wasn't about exposing a failed program anymore. This was about honoring a dog who survived it, and making sure no one ever buried the truth again. The file was buried beneath a loose floorboard in the barn's tack room. Travis wasn't even looking for it. He was reaching for a shovel when his boot caught on a warped plank, the edge curling upward like it had been pried loose once before. He knelt, pulled. Beneath it, a weathered metal box about the size of a lunch tin, locked with a rusted clasp. He broke it open with a screwdriver. Inside, a USB drive. No label, no paper, just plastic and silence. He stared at it for a long time before walking back inside, Ghost trotting silently at his side. The farmhouse didn't have internet, but it did have power, and Travis still carried an offline laptop for emergencies, something untraceable. He plugged the drive in and held his breath. The screen lit up. Project Delta, OBS file D7212, video logs, dozens of them. He opened the first. It was grainy footage, surveillance style, of a puppy in a sterile enclosure. The walls were white, the floor polished concrete. No toys, no bedding, no warmth, just the sound of boots off-screen. Then a voice. Subject D7212 responding with inconsistency to override stimulus. Non-compliant during Phase 4. Subject exhibits hesitance in attack scenarios. Travis watched as a hand reached into the enclosure and dropped a toy. A small, stuffed rabbit. Ghost, just a pup in the video, moved toward it. Slowly, cautiously. Then a buzzer sounded. The puppy flinched. Another command. Harsh. Sharp. Engage! But Ghost didn't move. The voice snapped again. A loud clang echoed. Ghost backed away. And then, out of frame, came the jolt. The kind of scream no animal should ever make. Travis slammed the laptop shut, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Beside him, Ghost sat frozen, staring at the closed screen. He had heard it too. He remembered. Travis knelt and pressed his forehead to the dogs. "They tried to break you," he whispered. "But you held on." He reopened the laptop, scrolled through the files. One of the last entries was a handler's log, audio only. Subject D7212 failed override again. Refuses to engage in non-threat neutralization scenarios. That's the third refusal. Management issued a termination order. I stalled it. He's too sharp, too aware. I think he knows. I'm moving him to a rural holding site. Will mark him deceased in the system. If anyone finds this, I'm sorry. I couldn't save the others. Travis sat in the silence that followed, heart pounding. Someone on the inside had tried to protect Ghost. Someone had risked everything to get him out. And now, Travis held the only living proof that the program didn't just fail. It chose evil, and Ghost chose not to follow it. He didn't know how far the reach of Project Delta went, but he knew this. There were people out there who would kill to keep these files buried. And now, he wasn't going to let them. It came without warning. Travis was chopping wood behind the farmhouse when Ghost let out a bark so sharp and sudden it stopped him mid-swing. Not an anxious bark. Not playful. A warning. He dropped the axe. Ghost had bolted to the front of the house, standing like a statue on the porch, tail rigid, teeth barely bared. Travis followed, slow, careful. Then he saw it. A black SUV crawling down the gravel road like it was stalking prey. Dark windows, clean paint, no plates. Travis stepped out into the open. Ghost didn't move. The vehicle rolled to a stop 20 yards from the house. No one got out. The windows stayed up. The engine purred. Then the back passenger window rolled down, just enough to see a face. Not a soldier, not law enforcement. Corporate, mid-40s, crisp haircut, clean suit, dead eyes. "Mr. Cole," the man called, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "We're not here to cause trouble." "You picked the wrong approach," Travis said high. The man offered a tight smile. "We're here for what belongs to us." Travis's eyes narrowed. "He doesn't belong to you." "He's property of a federal training initiative, Project Delta," the man replied. "Classified asset. You're harboring government equipment. You know that's a crime." Travis didn't blink. "He's not equipment. He's a dog." A pause. The man's tone cooled further. "He was designed for compliance. You're interfering with a program that protects national interests." Travis crossed his arms. "He was tortured for disobedience. That's not protection. That's a cover-up." The man's jaw twitched. "You're a veteran, Mr. Cole. You know how operations work. Sometimes difficult choices have to be made." "That's funny," Travis said, stepping forward. "Because in all my deployments, I never saw a difficult choice that involved electrocuting a puppy for refusing to bite a child-sized mannequin." The man said nothing. Ghost took one step forward. "I'm giving you a chance," the man said finally. "Hand him over. Walk away. No one needs to know this ever happened." Travis stared him down. "You're wrong about that." Another long silence. Then the man leaned back, gave a small nod. "You've made your choice." The window rolled up. The SUV reversed slowly, spun in the dirt, and vanished into the trees. Ghost didn't stop staring until the taillights disappeared. Travis exhaled and knelt beside him. "They're not gonna stop," he whispered. "Not until we make them." That night, Travis rewired the cabin, moved the pup's supplies into the crawl space, buried a backup hard drive in a waterproof case beneath the barn floor. He slept with the shotgun at the foot of his bed. But Ghost didn't sleep. He sat by the window all night, watching the darkness like he remembered exactly what used to live inside it, and how close it still was. The story broke at dawn. Travis hadn't planned to leak the files yet, not without backup, not without a plan. But after the visit from the SUV, he knew waiting wasn't safety. It was surrender. So he did the only thing that made sense. He sent everything to Paige Monroe, an independent journalist, former military, trusted by no one in government, but followed by everyone who ever felt betrayed by it. Her response was fast. "Holy hell, Travis, this is bigger than I thought. I'm going wide, hold tight." By 6 o'clock a.m., the first story was live. By 8 o'clock, it had gone viral. Project Delta, the dogs we tried to destroy. A montage of leaked footage, documents, training videos, handler logs, Photos of puppies in shock collars, puppies in cages, puppies being forced to attack mannequins that looked like civilians. A graph that showed obedience rates rising only after trauma exposure. And audio, the worst part. The recorded scream of a handler yelling at a dog named D7212 to stop hesitating, and the sound of the dog refusing. Again and again, and then the click of a button, and the yelp that followed. Ghost lay curled at Travis's feet while it played, his breathing shallow. He didn't move, but Travis saw the tension in his back, the twitch in his ears. He remembered. More than anyone could ever prove on paper, more than even Page's article could capture. Travis turned off the laptop. Enough, he whispered. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because as the article exploded across every veteran forum and animal welfare feed, the fallout began. Former handlers came forward, some angry, some broken. A few confirmed the worst. Project Delta had been testing moral obedience, seeing if dogs could be conditioned to override their instincts, not just to fight, to kill without hesitation. And when dogs like Ghost failed, when they hesitated, protected instead of attacked, froze instead of obeyed, they were marked defective, discarded, destroyed. One former handler posted anonymously, "We weren't training partners. We were building machines. But Ghost wasn't a failure. He was the first one who said no, and they punished him for it." The nation erupted. Animal rights groups demanded accountability. Veterans called it a disgrace. And deep inside a classified agency, someone realized they had lost control of the narrative. That same night, Travis found a note taped to his cabin door. No envelope, no threats, just 4 words in all caps. "He's not done yet." Travis didn't sleep after that. He reinforced every window, placed motion sensors around the property, set a backup camera feed to upload to a cloud server every 5 minutes. And through it all, Ghost stayed beside him, silent, ready, unshaken, not afraid, because Ghost had already lived through hell. And now, with Travis, he wasn't just surviving it, he was going to finish what they started. The attack came at 3:42 a.m. There was no warning, no headlights, no engine hum, just a sudden cut to black, every power line dead, every camera offline. Silence swallowed the cabin like a storm cloud rolling in on legs. But Ghost had already known. He'd risen from his spot by the window minutes earlier, ears forward, pacing quietly, watching the trees. Travis sat fully dressed on the edge of the bed, shotgun in his lap, heart steady, pulse calm. This wasn't paranoia. It was preparation. Because men like the ones behind Project Delta didn't go down with articles. They came in the dark, to erase what survived the truth. The first breach was the back window, glass shattered, boots hitting the floorboards fast. A second figure moved around the front porch, tools in hand, quiet but deliberate. Travis moved first. He took out the man at the window with one clean strike, a shot of rock salt to the leg, followed by a takedown. But it was the second intruder who got closer, who opened the front door with surgical precision, and walked straight into Ghost. The pup launched, no bark, no hesitation, just power and fury in a blur of black and silver. He hit the man square in the chest, knocked him flat, teeth bared. But he didn't bite the throat. He didn't kill. He held, controlled, precise, intentional. Travis rushed in, gun trained on the figure's face. The man spat blood. "You think this ends with a dog and a laptop?" Travis didn't blink. "No, it ends with people like you behind bars." He zip-tied the man's wrists, dragged him outside, and left him on the ground beside his bleeding partner. Then he turned back to Ghost, still standing in the doorway, tail low, panting. "You waited," Travis said softly. "You chose." Ghost didn't wag his tail. He didn't need to. Because this wasn't training. This was loyalty. The kind that couldn't be beaten into obedience. The kind you earn. By dawn, law enforcement had arrived. Real ones this time. The sheriff, the feds, even the press. The attempted raid gave the story its final fire. There was no more denying the truth. Project Delta had violated every code of ethics the military stood for. And Ghost? He was the proof they couldn't erase. That morning, as the sun broke over the hills and the black SUVs were towed from the property, Ghost climbed up onto the porch beside Travis and sat like a sentinel. Still, watchful, unbroken. Travis ran a hand down his back. "You were their final test," he said. Ghost turned his head slightly, eyes locking on his. "And you passed." It didn't make the evening news. Not really. A line here, a headline there. Illegal military dog program exposed. But by the time it hit the airwaves, the public had already moved on. Another scandal. Another cover-up. Too many people wanted to believe it had been one rogue project. One mistake. But for the ones who lived it, the dogs, the handlers, the survivors, it was never just one thing. It was everything. 3 weeks after the raid, Travis stood in a field just outside Helena, Montana, staring at a plot of land he'd bought with what was left of his retirement pay, and a few donations from people who'd read Paige Monroe's story and refused to scroll past it. The grass was knee-high, the fence half-broken. Perfect. He called it Second Watch. Not a shelter, not a training ground. A home for dogs like Ghost, for those who had been pushed too far, trained too hard, then labeled too broken to fix. Ghost ran the perimeter now like it was already his. Not as a soldier, not as a tool, as a guardian. He barked twice at a squirrel, then chased it halfway to the woods before trotting back, tongue lolling, eyes bright. He was healing, and so was Travis. They took in their first rescue 2 days later, a shepherd named Blitz, dumped outside a closed training facility in Nevada, too skittish to eat and too scared to meet eyes. Ghost didn't leave his side. Not once. By the end of the week, Blitz had eaten from Travis's hand. By the end of the month, he wagged his tail when Ghost nudged him in the ribs. The mission was simple. Save the ones who shouldn't need saving. Show the world what obedience could never teach. That loyalty isn't programmed, it's earned. That dogs like Ghost weren't failures, they were fighters. By fall, Second Watch had 6 dogs in rotation. 3 adoptions, 2 therapy certifications. One handler who'd lost her leg in combat now walked every morning with a leash in one hand and tears drying on her cheeks. And Ghost? He stayed at Travis's side through it all. The tattoo in his ear had faded with time, but it still meant something. Not a number, a name, a reminder that he wasn't what they built, he was what he chose to become. And now, every dog who came through that gate would get the same chance. Because some battles don't end on the battlefield. Some don't even make the history books. But here, in the wind and the grass and the quiet of dogs breathing beside you, you can feel the victory. And that's how a broken pup in a roadside ditch became the heart of something much bigger. Ghost was never meant to survive. He was supposed to vanish, just another number in a program designed to erase everything that didn't obey. But he didn't vanish. He chose a new path. He found someone who saw him not as a weapon, but as a partner. And together, they turned a story of silence into a mission of hope. Because what they tried to bury stood up and barked back. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that loyalty can't be manufactured and that even the forgotten deserve a second chance, don't scroll past. Subscribe to this channel. We tell real, powerful stories of those who refuse to give up. Dogs, veterans, survivors, and the bond that brings them back to life. Click subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who still believes in second chances. Because sometimes the smallest bark echoes the loudest truth.